Hey Joya, welcome on to the Fed Trend Show. So, how are things? How's proposal consulting treating you?
Thanks, Adam. Things are going well. Things are going well. Everything got a little slow, I think, for everybody while we waited for the ceiling to be raised, and now we're back in business, and everybody's kind of engaged right now.
Well, very good. Well, so for visibility for everybody, so Joya and I have worked on a number of proposals together over the years, and I've worked with a lot of different proposal consultants, and I've had a lot of different mixed results with that. What I will say is, Joya has always been, you've always been fantastic to work with, and so I feel like it was always a really good balance of a good engagement with as kind of seamless as it can be when somebody is a consultant in an organization. And so I was wondering, I talked to a lot of different companies about their proposal activities and their proposal operations, and they're always saying, well, if you know a good proposal consultant, let me know. Which, of course, I mean, I've referred you to a few people over the years. But so my first question was, how are proposal consultants different? I mean, do you see that there are some consultants that focus on specific types of GovCon clients, or do they work differently? What do you see as kind of the what's available out there in the marketplace of proposal consultants?
Well, thanks, Adam. First of all, thank you for the kind words, and it's always been a pleasure working with you wherever you've been. Um, we are all different. All proposal consultants are different. We come from different backgrounds. We come from different size companies because, of course, nobody starts out as a consultant. We end up that way. So I can speak from my own experience that I come from a background where I have a very long military background, so 21 years, and I happened to be in a communication related field, and I studied linguistics and writing and leadership and management a lot. Um, I started out working for medium-sized business that was just at the point where they were graduating in 8A from 8A. Um, I uh, then went to a larger company, worked with some larger companies, and it was suggested that you should be a consultant. What does that mean? Well, it means you don't have a job until you do. So we are all different. There are consultants who specialize in specific agencies or specific areas, for example, Department of State, Department of Defense, or they specialize in IT or health IT or security. There are so many different areas. The government doesn't make anything. They hire it all out. So whether it's a paperclip or a battleship, the government contracts for it. So other consultants specialize in sizes of business. And I've worked from the very largest companies to the very smallest, just startups with 2 or 3 people. And I decided early in my consulting career that I really enjoy working with small businesses. Having done a lot of small business work, I've worked across agencies, I've worked across countries, state, local, commercial, and I tend to focus more on the process and the growth. And I rely a lot on my capture manager, which is a whole other discussion, but
Right.
I rely on them for the guidance, the knowledge of the specific government agency or department. Um, at the same time, I'm kind of a proposal jack of all trades because I've had to manage, I've had to write, I've had to edit, I've done graphics, I've done the desktop publishing. Back in the day, I've even stuffed the binders, which thank goodness we don't do
Not
anymore.
as much anymore,
Um,
which is appreciated, right?
right. So it's very individual. It's very non-specific, and each consultant will tell you that they have a favorite part of the process. And I have a wonderful proposal manager, qualified person who works for me who only wants to write. She doesn't want to manage. So
It's good to
that's
know
what I
what
assigned
you
her.
want to do. That's
Right, and
always
she does it
helpful.
very well.
Yeah.
And as it turns out, she was a mechanical engineer in a previous life, so she's also very technical. But um, it is the we're all very different. And when you find a proposal consultant who's a good fit, and maybe they bring others with them, like I do, I prefer to have somebody else do the graphics. Um, then it works. And it's more about building a relationship with a client and integrating yourself into their organization just enough so that when the next proposal comes up and you need a past performance and we know, oh, wait, we worked on a couple of other proposals. We had very good luck with this past performance. So now you become kind of a member of the family, more like a cousin. And we are able to help you better.
So that was leading into what my next question was going to be, but I think I want to refine that a little bit based on some of the things that you said. So what I'm hearing is working together longer with the same consultant if you can is a beneficial thing. But initially finding that consultant, so if you're interviewing a consultant, it first off sounds like it shouldn't be, or maybe the best way to do it would be not around a specific opportunity, but understand that you as a company are going to have a need for consulting proposal support, and don't wait until you have a specific bid where the RFP is out. Decide that you need capacity and talk to a consultant, interview some consultants. And the other thing I'm hearing is ask them about the size of company that they prefer to work in, the different swim lanes of the proposal they like to work in, and if they have a specialization either by work type or by customer. I mean, that's what I'm hearing. Does that sound like, so if I was going to sit down and say I need a proposal consultant, if I ask them what size company do you prefer to work with? Do you have experience with the customer sets that I have, or their customers you specialize in? What types of work have the domain of work that the proposals that you've written were about? Are those some of the kind of preliminary questions? Is that a good entry point?
Yes, yes, it's what we aim for is that at the end of the end state is not much different, or should not be much different from hiring a full-time proposal manager. There are good fits, there are poor fits, there are okay fits, and then there are consultants who surround themselves with a roster of other consultants, and they can, I can say, Adam, I'm not the right person for this. However, I have a proposal manager on my roster who is exactly the person you need. And it might be the person you end up wanting to hire.
So,
you know, it, yeah.
based on that, there's different resources that hopefully somebody has engaged with you or a consultant and talked about, you know okay, make sure we have a good fit with our organization. If there's an actual bid where we think, look, we're handling task order stuff internally, but this is a big strategic bid, we need some extra services for this, do you just put it on kind of your annual calendar? I mean, these RFPs come out whenever they come out. So how do you engage a consultant such as yourself when an opportunity might be months down the road, and you may or may not have other engagements signed up, and they all might come out at the same time. How do you handle that?
Delicately. And really, let's go back to the proposal that all of us loved so much, CIOSP4.
Right.
Let's talk about that. Um, we engaged on that. We worked on that together. And the can got kicked down the road so many times by the government
Yeah.
that it went from a normal proposal turn of 30 to 60 days to 24 months. And the engagement kind of did this.
Mm-hmm.
RFP comes out, we begin writing, we get to the end, and there's an amendment, and we expand and contract. That's actually very difficult and very easy to manage. But we had you on our radar. We knew this is coming out. We're going to save some bandwidth for it. We're going to be very flexible. So the earlier a client comes to me and says, we're going after, name an opportunity, we discuss it, we get a commitment. We cannot influence or predict what the government will do.
None of us can.
However,
right.
Coming to me early means that I'm going to help you. And the next 5 people who come to me and say, hey, we want help on this, I'm sorry, I'm OCI'd out of this. I'm already working with a client. And with very few exceptions, and that was one because we had 2 teams that kind of worked in 2 different ways together. But with few exceptions, even if I have 20 consultants, if one consultant is working on that proposal for me, we don't touch it for anyone else.
And I imagine that probably differs a little bit from different organizations. I mean, there's a lot of, different there are obviously a lot of individuals or a lot of collections of consultants, and I'm sure
Yes.
different firms, some of them will probably firewall somebody off, or
Yes.
but that's interesting to know about your organization. And I'm sure that also helps from just an internal coordination. You know that you can always, all of you can support for load balancing if you need to, because you don't have OCIs, which certainly makes a lot of sense. Now, on that topic of OCI and coordination and kind of just understanding who's going to do what, the engagement model. So, what's the right way to set expectations? I mean, so if I'm a company and I engage with you and I say, okay, this opportunity is coming out, in the next several months, do we, I feel like a lot of times the statement of work that goes into a consulting agreement is kind of just something so that we can agree how we're going to bill and be paid and that type of thing. It either we don't have the time, or it's too complicated, or it can't be predicted exactly what the statement of work should be, where you really lay everything out. But who's gonna do we have stand-up meetings for the proposal, and are those coming from your invite, or are you going to have an email inside of the company? Are you doing the compliance matrix? Are you doing graphics? Are you, coordinating with internal graphics? All of those various little logistical things that happen in a proposal. Are you just discussing them? Are you documenting them? Because they also would change from company to company, or maybe even engagement to an engagement. What's the right way to kind of stake that out and agree to it?
So my basic consulting agreement is all of the terms and conditions and the payment and a basic price list of the, a rate card for the resources you might need. I could quote you, a desktop publisher, an editor, a graphic designer, a writer, a proposal manager, a proposal coordinator. We don't do price. I will tell you, we do not do price. I refer anyone who asks me about price, I refer them to a wonderful source, very respected source, and I don't touch it. But all of those are the a la carte resources that you can order from. You know, you have an internal graphics person, great. We'll use them. Um, if you if you want all of your Teams meetings or Zoom meetings or stand-up meetings generated through your platform, then we just need somebody from your company who will set those up. I do not use client emails. The reason that I don't use client emails is because I archive everything I have done for you and your company so that 6 months, 12 months, 18 months down the road, you come up, the government gives you a list of ENs. I can go back to those emails and say, well, Adam, on this date, we talked about this, and this is why we decided to do it this way. Now, how do we fix it for the government to explain, for the clarification? So I need to be able to keep all of those items. I learned that very early.
Yeah, I mean, the sales cycle is just unbelievable in GovCon. So I've had that happen to me a lot of times where you're going back and you're trying to remember why it was you did something in a particular section. And I mean, I know this happened to you too, but I've had a dozen rounds of either combination of modifications to the RFP and then ENs after the fact where you're changing 3 or 4 times during the RFP process, and then you're having to change it again where you're getting questions specifically, and you have to do proposal revisions and submit everything, and it gets really complicated sometimes. So that makes a lot of sense. Now, so you refer
so
price. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, but so back to your question. That's the basic agreement, and then we have like an addendum or an attachment with our statement of work for a particular RFP that comes out. For this one, you want a proposal manager and a writer, and you're going to provide all the graphics. That's fine. Do we know how many hours it will be? Well, we can, if we have a draft RFP, if we have some experience that shows that this is going to be the volume of work, then we have calculations that we do that say, you need 120 hours of management and 160 hours of writing across the 3 volumes and editing, and we come up with a bogey.
Mm-hmm.
And I always overestimate. I will tell you, I always overestimate. I would rather leave money on the table than have to go back and ask for more, because that's just uncomfortable for everyone. However, there is a clause in there that says when the government comes out with 17 amendments, I'm sorry, but this is going to end up costing you more.
Right.
So that's how we handle it. For example, I usually will estimate, with clients I have experience with, I know that I can say that 5 hours a day of management is going to be more than sufficient. Or, because over the cycle, the development cycle, it ebbs and it flows, as we know. So if I don't have anything to do on Wednesday, I'm not charging time. I have had potential clients come to me and say, oh, well, do you do firm fixed price? No. There's too much risk involved. Do you do per diem rate? No, it will cost you too much money. You don't need a per diem rate. Mm-hmm. And I also try to coach my clients to understand that the closer they follow the process and the more information they are able to give me, that's all time that they are saving, and time really is money.
Yeah. Well, and there's a couple things with that. It's an interesting concept to me on your side of the proposal estimating because so one of the things that I did in the past was I developed an estimation model so that we could decide, we use t-shirt sizing, the idea of small, medium, large, and extra large for bids. And that was just so that we could, we knew the capacity of the proposal team. I think I can do two larges and a medium at a time. I can do an extra large and a small. You can do maybe four smalls. I had a capacity measure, so I knew that when somebody would come in and say, "Can we do this?" it was better than that subjective, like, "Well, I guess," or "We'll figure it out," because the "we'll figure it out" leads to a lot of people working till midnight and a lot of time on weekends that I've always really tried to avoid unless it is absolutely just there's nothing to do, no way to avoid it. But the side of the estimating from you is not just the document from the government, but it's to your point that the efficiency of the organization and the complexity of the organization. I think a lot of times when people have consultants, it exposes the billing of the consultant exposes some of the inefficiency of their organization because they end up saying, why did you charge me 10 hours for this? And the answer a lot of times is, well, I asked for it on this day, and then I asked for it on the second day, and then it was sent to me in part, and I had to follow up with somebody, and they sent me to somebody who was not the right person. And so all of that inefficiency, so that's an added complexity on top of it. But that overestimating as a consultant, I will say I also always appreciate because, when you're a small business, there's usually more B&P money because it's not a hard and fast number. But if you're in a large business, that number is that number, and then the charge code runs out, and then it's over. And then I can't tell anybody, "Well, just pay the invoice," because large businesses don't work that way. Now that's on the estimating side, and you talked a little bit about the fact that you don't do the pricing piece of it, and you've got somebody that you engage, refer people to for that. What other things are you asked that you can't support? I mean, obviously there's the "I'm OCI and I can't do that," but what kinds of questions, do you have a PM I can bid? What should we say here? What kinds of things should you not ask a proposal consultant, on a bid engagement?
So interesting that you would say, "Do you have a PM we could bid?" My answer to that is generally no. But I know some good recruiters that I can refer you to. We're not in the business of recruiting. Now, if they're asking me about recruiting and starting to recruit during the proposal cycle, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good because once you win, you have to execute. And
Right.
if you win and you have to start the contract on day one and you haven't even started interviewing your staff, you're in trouble.
Yeah, that usually doesn't go well.
Yeah, that does not go well.
Not
That
that
does
I've ever
not
had that
build
happen to me.
good past performance.
Yeah.
In fact, that could be a termination letter. But things that I've been asked over my career, one of them is, "Well, don't you have another section that you could just throw in there for recruiting, quality assurance, proposal or project management, risk management, uh, you name it?"
Yeah.
And well, I probably do have another section that's exactly what you need. However, this is the intellectual property of name another company that's my client. And if you notice in that consulting agreement, we have an NDA.
Right.
And you don't want me to share, I don't know, name a company, you don't want me to share theirs with you because what's to say that I'm not going to share yours?
Well, I can imagine though, and also those, solution is one thing, but those attachment little documents, a lot of times that as a capture person, you're, okay, here's my solution, here's how we're going to do this. And then when it gets down into either the quality assurance surveillance plan, the QASP, or a quality control plan, or a risk management plan, or a work breakdown structure. Those are the things where you're like, I didn't plan for this. It's extra. It sometimes, I mean, I've had them 5, 10, 20 pages that are attachments. You're not really sure if they're going to evaluate them sometimes. So I can imagine, don't
Right,
you
but
have
they
one of
have to be
these?
there. It's a go no go factor
Right.
in your section M. So you have to have those. Well, I can't give you, or I can't give the guy down the street yours. I can't give you theirs. So it's up to the integrity of the consultants to walk you through the process, to help you through the process, to develop your own. Once you have a risk management plan, you keep that, you recycle it. And then you don't have to ask me if I have one because I do. I have yours
Yeah.
because
Right.
I archived it. And we can dust it off, pull it out, make it tailored to the RFP, to the specific opportunity. And it will save you time and money. Of course, it's going to cost you up front. Maybe you already have one. That's great. So proposal consulting, proposal management, even as a full-time proposal manager for a company, it's not an isolated, insulated process or group. Proposal management reaches out to literally every part of the company, whether it's the subject matter experts, finance, HR, benefits, recruiting, quality assurance, leadership, tech people. It touches everyone.
Yeah, I mean, because when you're writing a proposal, you're saying how your whole company would engage to do a job. So I think it's a good point. You have to understand from a proposal perspective how, at least at some level, how everything inside of that company operates to be able to talk about it effectively. So, yeah, I think some of the things we talked about looking at it as a longer term consulting engagement. Don't look at it like calling AAA because you have a flat tire. It is more the decide what auto club you want to sign up for so that when you need assistance, you already kind of know what to expect. So it sounds like, the things I'm hearing is to have a good engagement with a proposal consultant, talk to some organizations, talk to some consulting groups or some consultants way before you need somebody. Decide that it is a strategic company objective to have that resource available to you and get that outlined and agreed upon and all of that before you have a specific proposal requirement, and then more notice is always better. In the event that somebody is just, oh my goodness, this thing came out, and whether, proposal manager quit and walks off the job, or, two, three things hit at once that you didn't expect, and you just are in an emergency. Are there any tips for that, or at that point is it you're just kind of going to use it as a lessons learned because it's just pretty random on how that's going to go?
So I've mentioned before that building relationships is very important. And that's very important for a number of reasons, but one of them is you have an emergency. If we have a relationship, I'm going to bend over backwards to help you get over the hump. And maybe that's, calling in all the troops and having them sort this thing out. Um, we do our best for the clients we have relationship with, and especially some that we have a long-term relationship with. But here's another thing: if you build that relationship up front before the engagement, I have one particular very small business, and let me tell you, relationships get you some freebies. They really do, because goodwill is goodwill, and good people get together somehow. So one very small business I work with, the owner of the business will call me for advice. I'm not going to charge him for advice. I might spend a half hour on the phone with him, but he will bounce ideas off of me like, this one particular opportunity is supposed to be coming out. This is what it is. Do you think it might be a good idea for us to go after it, or is it just a bridge too far, or is it out of our wheelhouse completely? And there have been many times I've said, save your money.
Yeah.
Don't, this is wired. You don't want to spend money on this. I can't take your money to do that because it's just wrong. There are other times I've said, that's let's look into this. And I may call in somebody else with a lot more expertise in that agency or that area than I have and say, hey, what do you think of this?
Yeah, and I
Yeah, it's a
think
good idea. No, it's not.
yeah, and a lot of times, one of the pieces of advice I give sometimes is that if we think just that the best we can do is to get an answer together, like we're going to be proud of ourselves that we were able to respond to it, you're probably not going to win. But if you actually think you might have some things to say, then yeah, an opportunistic deal, from time to time makes a lot of sense. Well, hey, so my last question is, if somebody wants to engage with you, if they want to talk to you, they think that they want to start down that process of having a strategic, I think I need a proposal consultant on my Rolodex, so to speak. What's the best way to get in touch with you?
Best way to get in touch with me. First of all, visit my website, www.jcgoodeninc.com. Wait, no, www.jcgooden.com. See, I don't even know my
Yeah,
own
and I'll put
website
a I'll
these
put
days.
a I'll put a graphic up here for us so that and
Okay.
put the content in the comments also.
Yeah. My email is joya@jcgooden.com. My telephone number is up on the website.
Perfect.
And just to let you know, I am located in Central Virginia. I have consultants everywhere from the East Coast to the West Coast. Uh, we do even have actually a couple of decent orals coaches,
Which is a
uh,
whole nother topic. Maybe that'll be
which is a whole nother topic.
that might be part two conversation because
Yeah, yeah.
that's a whole different animal. Well, fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Joya. It's been great chatting with you,
It's been great chatting with you too.
I'd be negligent if I didn't say and also thanks for all the assistance over the years on so many bids. So
Oh, you are so welcome. You're so welcome. I miss working with you.
there's it one of these days. I have
We
to have
will.
something to
We
do.
will.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Adam. Have a great day.